Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Tonight, CAL FIRE crews are wrapping up containment on an East County brush fire that's threatened homes. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The Miller fire broke out this afternoon on Campo Road and Miller Ranch Road, and that is just off of the 94 freeway in Spring Valley. An evacuation order and warning were issued for about 220 people in the area, but those have been lifted. And you can see the smoke rise in this time-lapse video from one of UC San Diego's Alert California wildfire monitoring cameras. CAL FIRE says it burned about 15 acres before firefighters stopped its forward progress. And at last check, it was 5% contained with no damages being reported.
Well, as we head into tonight, I will be tracking a chilly start here for your early Thursday. But other than that, I'm tracking nice and sunny weather for both Thursday and Friday. Overall, looks like it's going to stay mild this weekend, but big changes move in on Saturday, or Sunday, I should say. I'm tracking rainfall for both Sunday and Monday. Stay tuned.
Hundreds of patient care and service workers were picketing in front of UC San Diego Medical Center today. The picketers were just some of the nearly 40,000 University of California workers striking at UC hospitals across the state. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen has more on the two-day strike.
These workers say their labor is what keeps this hospital running. They do everything from keeping the operating room running to maintaining the machines that help patients breathe, as well as cooking and cleaning.
It's everything under the sun that a nurse and a doctor doesn't do.
Isaac Zamora is a respiratory specialist at UC San Diego Medical Center. He says the members of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees are striking because the UC is breaking the law with unfair bargaining tactics.
When we show up to the bargaining table, they are routinely unprepared, and they provide proposals that are not grounded in reality.
The UC system denies this, saying the university presented multiple proposals. In a statement released earlier this month, UC officials said, "Our proposal would increase AFSCME members' pay by an average of 26% over the 5-year contract. We have also proposed $75 or $100 monthly credits for AFSCME members to offset employee premium increases." Zamora says the university refused to release certain information to the union and unilaterally increased health premiums by hundreds of dollars a month.
They just made conditions worse for all of our health care.
Union members say they have to endure long commutes or sleep in the car, and the people needing government assistance nearly triple since 2017.
I personally live about an hour north of here. I can't afford to live here in San Diego, in the San Diego region. And most of our workers can't.
Meanwhile, Zamora says the university has money for new buildings and expanding campuses. The strike continues at all UC medical facilities tomorrow. UC officials say there is a plan in place to ensure patient care is not disrupted. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
A bomb cyclone slammed into the Pacific Northwest before moving into Northern California. At least 2 deaths were reported in Washington state. As Laura Aguirre explains, storm victims won't get a break before the next severe weather threat moves in.
This is crazy. There's trees up everywhere. There's houses destroyed.
Driving snow and a slew of downed trees mark a bomb cyclone's powerful impact across parts of the Pacific Northwest overnight.
I was not expecting this snowstorm at all.
But in it came with hurricane-force winds gusting over 70 miles per hour that toppled countless trees, in many cases taking power lines with them, knocking hundreds of thousands of people off the grid. Puget Sound Energy, which services the Seattle area, says the mass outage could last multiple days. This North Seattle resident, one of the lucky ones.
I could hear it creaking, and I wasn't sure if it was falling or just like moving in the wind. And then I heard it breaking through some branches.
Many of his neighbors spent the day assessing damaged homes and vehicles. The intense winter storm also being blamed for some fatalities. One of them, a Bellevue, Washington woman who fire officials say was killed in her shower when a tree crushed her home. In the mountainous passes between Portland and Central Oregon, tire chains are a must.
Getting pretty delirious now. We're on minute 37 of getting these chains on.
The wicked weather isn't over. Forecasters say the bomb cyclone essentially tapped an atmospheric river, which is expected to dump torrential rain over the region through tomorrow, with forecasters predicting Northern California could reach a rare level 4 of 4 flood risk over the next 24 hours. I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
A record number of people are expected to travel for the Thanksgiving holiday. KPBS reporter Melissa May explains why now is a good time to get vaccinated for respiratory illnesses.
AAA expects almost 80 million people will travel for Thanksgiving. CVS pharmacist Nicole Henry says getting vaccinated now can help protect yourself and loved ones.
Patients are coming in, they have symptoms, they're looking for over-the-counter remedies. And we want to make sure that patients are protected, especially because the best way to prevent hospitalizations is by getting immunizations for flu, COVID, and RSV.
Dr. Eric Berg with San Diego County's Epidemiology and Immunization Services says they are seeing an uptick in the flu virus in the county.
That correlates with the wastewater data that we track. So an increase in influenza detections in our wastewater. So this is typically the time of year when we start to see those increases.
So far this season, fewer than 50% of county residents over 65 are vaccinated for flu. About a quarter of residents ages 50 to 64 and only 15% of people ages 18 to 49.
So certainly room for improvement.
Berg emphasizes flu can be a big deal for high-risk populations like people over 65 or those with chronic medical issues.
So really, the influenza vaccine is going to protect you, and it's going to protect the folks that you're around during the respiratory season from getting severe disease, potentially being requiring admission to a hospital, and even death.
County data show 1,500 people were hospitalized last year with the flu, and 66 people died. Melissa May, KPBS News.
President-elect Donald Trump's plan to deport record numbers of immigrants has some feeling uneasy. San Diego Unified School District leaders are reassuring affected families that the district will do everything that it can to protect them. Hernandez is the principal of Perkins K-8 school in Barrio Logan, and he told our media partner KGTV about 35 families are here from Venezuela and enrolled in the district for the first time this year.
We're going to continue to ensure, that our families understand that safety is our #1 concern, regardless of where the threat may come from.
We do not offer information to immigration enforcement. Immigration enforcement cannot just come onto our schools. And students, regardless of immigration status, have a constitutional right to free public education in this country.
And while schools in San Diego County do not track immigration status, it is estimated that 9% of the state's K-12 students have at least one parent who is undocumented. Guns originally bought in the United States are routinely found in Mexican crime scenes, so much so that Mexican officials have accused American gun manufacturers of arming the drug cartels. KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis spoke with people trying to stop the illegal smuggling of guns into Mexico.
In July, San Diego Representative Juan Vargas was part of a congressional delegation visiting Mexico's presidential palace. After a tour of the palace grounds, the lawmakers got down to business, with Mexico President Claudia Sheinbaum and her predecessor, Andrés Manuel López Obrador.
We wanted to talk about drugs, fentanyl, and we wanted to talk about sewage in San Diego.
But Mexico's leaders had other priorities.
They said, great, let's work on that. Help us with these weapons. You guys are arming the cartels.
They were talking about the illegal flow of guns from the U.S. into Mexico. Every year, more than 10,000 guns found in Mexican crime scenes are traced back to the United States. That's according to data from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Known as the Iron River, the southern flow of guns has devastated Mexico.
They're incredibly dangerous, and we're seeing it. I mean, just to be honest with you, you see the shootouts there that they have. It's like any shootout you'd have in a war.
Under federal law, ATF is limited to only publish the aggregate number of all guns found in Mexico traced back to the U.S. It does not identify specifically which states or cities these guns came from. However, the public now has access to more specific data, thanks to a successful lawsuit against ATF filed by a San Francisco gun control advocate, John Lindsay Poland.
There's so much harm, there's so much disruption and chaos and pain that is produced using these guns. And so often when we talk about what's going on in Mexico, there isn't a reference to the sources.
The data covers a 7-year period from 2015 to 2022. It's broken down by zip code, gun manufacturer, model, and caliber. Lindsay Poland says this trove of data can help increase public understanding.
So if there's hundreds of guns that are traced to a zip code, then I think it's an opportunity for people in that community to say, we don't really want to be, the source of this. We might believe in the right to buy firearms and all of that, but this is a problem that we need to address.
Most of the American guns identified in Mexican crime scenes came from border states. Gun rights advocates are warning against using this data to make sweeping conclusions about the entire gun industry. Lawrence Keene is with the National Shooting Sports Foundation.
It can be used by law enforcement to, for targeted investigations or to, apply resources. It's wrong to just take that data and make blanket assertions that, the dealers in a given zip code or, nationally are somehow corrupt.
The data does not include a purchase date, so there's no way to know whether a gun was bought 10 months ago or 10 years ago. Also, there's no information regarding whether a gun was reported stolen after being legally purchased in the U.S. But Keene does acknowledge that the data is a useful investigative tool.
You can't jump from the trace data to a conclusion. It's the starting point, potentially, of an investigation.
Tim Sloan was head of ATF operations in Mexico during the Trump and Biden administrations.
We examined and traced about 97,000 firearms over 4 years. And that's just a small percentage of the firearms that are arriving in Mexico.
He believes that there is a direct connection between gun violence and migrants fleeing to the U.S.
You leave Guanajuato and you leave Michoacan, Mexico to come to the United States because you will die if you stay where you are. Your family will die. Your children will die. They will kill you. They will hang you from a bridge. The violence is so out of control and over the top and extreme. And they're all being murdered with firearms purchased in the United States. So we should be doing something about that as well.
Sloan is critical of ATF officials in Washington, D.C. He says they don't view the flow of guns into Mexico as a priority. And he points out that ATF has an overall budget of $1.5 billion, but the Mexico office only has a budget of $1.5 million.
Nobody can seriously believe that we're doing all we can when that's the budget that's provided.
ATF did not respond to a request for comment. Some lawmakers, like Vargas, say this new data can help them pass gun control laws.
It's very reasonable to have an assault weapon ban in the United States, but it would also help us in Mexico and in Central America and Latin America because they would not get these assault weapons in.
But those kinds of bans are non-starters for the gun industry. Again, here's Keene.
So they're legal to buy here in the United States, and they're not being used in crime. Why should we restrict the constitutional rights of law-abiding Americans because Mexico has a crime problem?
Keene says the focus should be on Mexico's inability to prosecute criminals. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
The VA San Diego healthcare system is growing, adding thousands more veterans, hundreds of jobs, and more options for women and caregivers. KPBS Military and Veterans Affairs reporter Andrew Dyer spoke recently with the director of the medical center.
President Joe Biden signed the PACT Act in 2022, expanding health care benefits to more veterans. Since taking effect, the VA San Diego Medical Center has enrolled thousands. Frank Pearson is the director of the VA San Diego healthcare system.
VA San Diego actually has the greatest growth rate of all of the Southwest. And so we've seen a tremendous growth in our volume to the tune of about 400 to 500 veterans every single month.
VA San Diego is one of the largest local healthcare providers. A recent study by the San Diego Military Advisory Council found almost 200,000 veterans live in San Diego County. Pearson says 150,000 vets are enrolled in VA healthcare across San Diego and Imperial counties. Many of those veterans are women, and Pearson says much of their recent expansion has been to accommodate them.
We have the largest percentage of women veterans in all of VA. 13.1% of our population are female veterans.
VA San Diego provides primary and specialty care for women, including prenatal and maternity services, and infant care for 1 year. Its newest clinic in Kearney Mesa caters to veteran women.
We've really gone out of our way to identify that, hey, we have a lot of women veterans to serve. We're very proud of that fact.
The VA's also ramped up staffing around San Diego over the last several years. Since 2022, they've added 400 new jobs. The VA has been criticized over the years over appointment wait times. Congress mandates veterans be seen within certain timeframes or be able to get care from other providers. Pearson says people like continuity in their health care. That's why he says most veterans choose to wait to be seen at the VA.
What we find actually at VA San Diego is overwhelmingly, most veterans choose to wait until we're able to see them.
This year, VA San Diego added a mobile care unit to better reach veterans in the homeless community. In 2025, it's adding a new expanded community living center at its La Jolla campus. The new nursing home will also offer expanded support services for caregivers. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
This year's free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, is now open to all students. But after last year's messy rollout of a new streamlined process, parents and students may be a little bit wary. Karen Kafer reports on what they need to know.
Last year's rollout of a simplified free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, did not go according to plan.
The net effect was a frustration with the process, people abandoning the FAFSA altogether because they didn't think it was worth their time or they didn't think it would ever work.
And in some cases, glitches and delays impacted students' options as they waited for financial aid offers. Before last year, the FAFSA form traditionally opened to all students on October 1st. But the Department of Education made a phased release of the FAFSA for this year amid continued beta testing. Now the form is open to all, and students are advised to start sooner rather than later. Jill Dijon, senior policy analyst at the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators, says filing deadlines will vary among schools and scholarships.
Know what your deadlines are and make sure you're meeting them, but they will be different for every student depending on where they're applying to school and where they're from.
To get things going, students need an FSA ID, an account username and password for the FAFSA site, and applicants and their families should gather any tax, banking, and investment documents. Student aid experts hope the process will be more efficient and less frustrating this year.
What we're hoping to see this year is that full realization of what the FAFSA Simplification Act intended to do, which was to make this application shorter and easier to complete.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
The San Diego County Registrar of Voters still has about 56,000 ballots left to process before certifying the election results. But it's already clear which local tax measures voters have approved and which they have rejected. Our Public Matters partner Scott Lewis breaks it all down in this week's Why It Matters.
On Election Day, voters across San Diego told us they were concerned about the cost of living. Inflation was top of mind across the country. But that's what makes the results of the 11 sales tax increases or extensions that voters weighed in on in San Diego so interesting. Voters approved 7 sales tax increases or extensions and rejected just 4 of them. Here's the list of the cities where voters approved tax increases or extensions: Chula Vista, El Cajon, Escondido, La Mesa, Lemon Grove, Oceanside, and San Marcos. Even with the cost of living a top complaint, some voters deliberately increased their cost of living. They trusted their cities. However, voters sent a message of lack of confidence to the San Diego Association of Governments, the city of Encinitas, Santee, and the city of San Diego.
I would vote for increasing the sales tax if things were if they were fixing our streets and so on, but it doesn't look like they really do that with the money.
For the city of San Diego, this is going to be a problem. The city is facing a deficit this year estimated at up to $200 million. And Mayor Todd Gloria had no other plan for dealing with it and the city's many infrastructure needs than Measure E, the sales tax increase. Now the city must address the need for shelters for homeless residents, the demand for improved infrastructure, all while making significant cuts. I'm Scott Lewis with Voice of San Diego, and that's why it matters.
A statewide ballot measure that would have raised California's minimum wage has failed. Proposition 32 would have increased wages for the state's lowest paid workers to $18 per hour by the year 2026. The California Chamber of Commerce opposed the prop, saying it would have increased costs, led to higher takes and job cuts. Supporters estimated the measure would have benefited 2 million workers. The current minimum wage rates are $16 per hour for most workers and $20 for fast food employees. A group that advises San Diego elected officials on water and sewer services keeps canceling its meetings, even as residents pay rising rates. iNews Source reporter Crystal Nibla explains why.
There's just not enough people serving on what's known as the Independent Rates Oversight Committee, or IROC for short. 5 of the 11 seats are vacant. The other 6, well, they're currently being held by members serving beyond their expired terms, like Gordon Hess.
Our chair and vice chair have met with staff. They've met with the mayor's office and expressing those types of frustrations and concerns, and but we haven't seen any results.
He says IROC met with city staff to express frustrations and concerns about the vacancies. But the city says it's struggling to fill the vacant seats. Chida Warren Darby is the city's director of appointments, boards, and commissions. She says allowing members to attend virtually, like during the COVID-19 pandemic, would help.
There's a very real resource issue. And, our hands are a little tied in terms of legislation at the state level that really prohibits us from having the freedoms needed for people to participate in the capacity they want.
The city has received 9 applications over the past 3 years. They remain under review. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source reporter Crystal Niebla.
And iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. And this story is part of our Public Matters partnership. To find out more, go to kpbs.org/publicmatters.
As we head into tonight, I will be tracking a chilly start for your early Thursday. Low clouds near the coast with overnight lows a mix of 30s and 40s. Oceanside, Camp Pendleton almost freezing here for tonight at 34 degrees. For the rest of the county, we'll see a mix of 30s and 40s here for overnight lows. A few areas, especially in the higher elevations, will be below freezing here for your early Thursday. Heading into tomorrow, Southern California, lots of sunshine, still tracking lots of that moisture across Northern California. But overall for your Thursday afternoon, nice clear skies. We will see increasing cloud coverage here once the sun sets, and some of that rainfall is going to slowly start to drift its way to the south, but it's not going to get any farther south than about Fresno, so mid-California, Central California. So for your Thursday afternoon, overall dry and mild conditions continue here across the Four Corners. That will extend into Southern California. So for your highs for your Thursday, we'll see a mix of 70s, 80s even. So overall, it's going to be a pretty nice forecast here with lots of sunshine here as we head throughout your Thursday. Heading into the day on Friday, still watching out for that rainfall, even some snow flurries in the higher elevations across Northern California. But overall, lots of sunshine here as we head throughout the next couple of days. For that 5-day outlook here across the coast, sunny and pleasant here for your Thursday. But look at that low here for tonight. Overnight lows will be a mix of 30s and 40s. So a chilly start here for your Thursday, but starting on Friday, we'll see temperatures not quite as warm in the afternoon hours, but lots of sunshine. Some cloud coverage in the forecast on Saturday. More cloud coverage in the forecast on Sunday before the rainfall moves in as we head into early parts of next week. Inland forecast looks pretty good. We'll see the upper 70s here for Thursday. Temperatures will trail off just a little bit as we head into the weekend, but overall the forecast looks dry. Across the mountainous region, we'll see overnight lows a mix of 30s and 40s. Afternoon highs will stay in the 50s for the next couple of days, but we will dip into the 40s as we head into the weekend. And then after that, here your desert forecast looking pretty nice with a mix of 70s and 80s.
This Thanksgiving could be a record breaker for business. A new National Retail Federation survey predicts more than 183 million people are planning to shop in-store and online from Turkey Day through Cyber Monday. 57% of those cited good deals as their main reason. Holiday spending is expected to hit nearly $1 trillion this year. Millions of packages will arrive on doorsteps around the country between now and the end of December. And if a package is swiped, a refund or replacement isn't always guaranteed. Karen Kafa has a look at how to protect your packages.
Americans will ring up more than $240.8 billion in online sales this holiday season, according to Adobe Analytics, with most purchases slated for home delivery and providing more opportunity for porch pirates.
Now's the time to be a lot more vigilant.
CNET Money editor Daisha Milden says protecting packages can begin before items leave the warehouse by choosing options like package tracking notifications or requiring a signature for delivery, and purchasing with a credit card that offers a refund or replacement in the event of theft.
Go ahead and check with your credit card issuer and see, do I have purchase protection? What are the limitations in case something like this does happen? It's better to be proactive in this case rather than reactive.
For households using a doorbell camera, Milden says a small upgrade for extra recording capability around the holiday rush can help.
If you don't have storage availability or recording, definitely see if that's something you can add on. Usually just log online and pay that fee.
Consumers might want to consider in-store pickup for online orders or have packages delivered to pickup locations to reduce risks. And in the spirit of the season, Milden also suggests reaching out to neighbors to help keep an eye out for your packages and theirs. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya C. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.